Maybe we should eat some of these berries.
Are you nuts? Shit like that could be poison.
I just got that. We would have caught up to the prick if you didn't lose your fucking shoe.
You fucking compromised everything.
You should have come to me. He says he's gonna kill you, Artie.
Murder, truck hijacking, as well as money laundering are expected to be.
Are you someone who's ever wondered why Tony Soprano is actually irresistible to so many women, despite everything? All right, listen up, familia. It's your capo, Matthew, boss of this operation called Sopranos Breakdown. You want the real story behind Tony, Carmela, and the whole Wise Guy crew. You came to the right spot, so grab your cannoli, lock in, and let's get this show on the road. 'Cause here, we break it down like only a true boss can. Capiche? Look, I get that Tony has charisma. Fine. But 8 out of 10 women say he's the sexiest man alive? Really? We're talking about a bald guy with a belly the size of a Buick. What's going on? Do women have a PhD in daddy issues now? They don't just like him. They want him. They want his mouth, his tits, his whole Buffalo Bill starter kit. He's not just a man. They're women. End of story. Tony puts the lotion in the basket, or he gets the whoos again.
Your father never had the makings of a varsity athlete. Small hands, that was your problem.
Small hands, big moves, varsity-level hoo-ah appeal. He always had the makings of a varsity hoo-ah. Oh, that's the boss you're talking about. Yeah, and that's how people actually see him.
Put a shirt on. I'm getting a chubby.
The breathing, though? Good God. And thank Madone he doesn't take his shirt off after season 1. If he has a heart attack mid-shex, people will wonder if you crawled under there for warmth. Whatever happened to season 1 Tony? The burly, vaguely dangerous day-bod prototype. He looked like a guy who bench-pressed cement bags and grilled sausage with his bare hands. Then it became cocaine, self-loathing, and man-boob close-ups.
Forget this fancy shit.
People say it's charisma, but is charisma just yelling at people while eating mortadella in a tracksuit? Let's be real. Tony mostly hooks up with hookers, strippers, Eastern European grifters, and unhinged real estate agents. Women who meet him on the street don't fall at his feet. They need therapy because of him.
It's obvious you got a killer body under there, like a mandolin.
Even Melfi, professional, educated, starts to fall for him a little, until she remembers he's a violent sociopath with the emotional range of a parked Buick. But he's confident. He's powerful. Pinky ring that says, "I haven't respected a woman since 1908, and that's all some women need." The bad boy. Alpha. He'll protect me while simultaneously being the reason I need protection fantasy. They don't want to date Tony Soprano. They want to feel something. The risk, the thrill, the maybe I'll survive this encounter rush. It's the same logic that makes people pay to be dropped from 100 feet at an amusement park. Tony's not hot, but power. Power is hot. Money is hot. Having a guy who could disappear your ex with one phone call and then spoon you afterward. Hot. And hey, some of it's Gandolfini too. The man had riz, soft eyes, big energy, Rubenesque even. And honestly, when you lead a mafia family, women tend to overlook the cholesterol. But let's not kid ourselves. This ain't about abs. It's about swagger, violence, and the fantasy of safety wrapped in danger.
What's this speech tells me? You got a bear up there at the house?
Like cuddling a bear that might maul your cousin. So no, women aren't damaged or crazy. They just get the seductive power of confidence, money, and a little TV magic. But yeah, 8 out of 10? Either that's the truth, or people really like binge-watching The Sopranos.
John Gotti, life in prison, no chance of parole. We've seen arrests and prosecution, top mob figures.
Forget everything you've heard about the mafia dying out. The truth is, it never really went away. And it's far from over. By the time The Sopranos hit TV, the mafia was already on its last legs. Tony even says he showed up at the tail end of it all. And the so-called Little Italy by the final episode. Just one lonely city block. So today, does the mafia still exist? Short answer: sort of, but don't expect the old-school hijackings and street-level muscle. With modern data science, machine learning, and sophisticated fraud detection, scams don't slip through the cracks like before. Plus, most small businesses have been swallowed by corporate giants, making it harder to muscle in on local rackets.
Fairfield Township's taking bids next week.
See? This is why we have a fixed bid club.
The classic lawn-raking racket? That's ancient history. Now it's all about rigging bids and controlling construction contracts. The real mob today looks less like gun-toting gangsters and more like big guys who quietly run repair businesses or legitimate fronts. Loyalty still exists. Some old-school guys have done decades behind bars without snitching. But openly admitting the mafia exists? That's still a hard no. The mafia hasn't disappeared, but it's changed.
Murder, truck hijacking, as well as money laundering are expected to be.
No flashy violence, no open threats. Instead, it's about laundering money, running illegal and legal gambling operations, loan sharking, and making legit money whenever possible. They avoid attention because attention equals trouble. In Italy, the mafia still openly challenges government authority. But in the US, especially post 9/11, the law enforcement crackdown makes organized crime much harder. The mob in North America has shifted into providing a framework while leaving overt street violence behind. Legalized gambling has actually increased participation, creating more opportunities for the mob to run gambling fronts and loan operations under the radar. Traditional street hustles, like bookmaking and loan sharking, are shrinking because the risks outweigh the rewards. Some street gangs with mob connections still exist, particularly in cities like Chicago, where they engage in violent and criminal activities. But in New York and New Jersey, the mafia mostly operates through legitimate businesses: construction, waste management, and the trades, using subtle illegal tactics like bid rigging and sabotage instead of outright crime.
Aggressive government policy over 2 decades, at least in part, a disregard.
Organized crime has adapted. It's quieter, more corporate, and more focused on white-collar crimes. The big players don't need to use violence when they can launder money, manipulate contracts, or run online gambling sites. So, does the mafia still exist? Yes, but it's a shadow of its former self. More a network of hidden interests and money laundering than the theatrical mobsters from decades past.
20 years inside. Not a fucking peep. For what? To protect the likes of Rusty fucking Milio? Doc Santoro?
Stop believing the lies about Phil Leotardo's time in prison. It's way more complicated than you think. That question's been tossed around a lot. If he did, how long was he behind bars? 20 years? 5,000? Nobody really knows for sure. Phil might have dropped the odd hint once or twice, but he's about as forthcoming as a clam at a BBQ. In some people's books, you get points for staying out of the can. Others might not keep score at all. Some folks have so few points they think they're winning. Lucky for me, those points don't mean much. Legend has it he's still in there, not in hell or purgatory, but stuck in the can. He wanted heaven, but compromised with purgatory. Up in the can. Was he standing on his head? Sure. Call that a post. Proud as hell to be locked up for 2 decades, like a warrior for the mob, grinding out those years behind bars. But here's the thing. Phil's never really been in the can. He's got zero respect for the whole thing. No one's fingers getting pricked, no swords or guns on the table. Just crows on the windowsill and grilled cheese sandwiches cooked on radiators, like some sad kitchen experiment. And no, guys don't jerk off into tissues in there. No wine or breadsticks on the radiator anymore. Not since Butchie. Not since Moratis. So, no more conjokes. They're just hurtful and destructive. 20 years inside, silent as a stone. For what? To protect Rusty Milio? Doc Santoro? Give me a break. The story goes he was looking at a century stretch, but compromised down to 20. Maybe he mentioned it a few times, but never bragged about it. He was still just a kid when he got out. 20 years, and he's tight-lipped about it. Nobody really knows for sure, long enough to learn the art of radiator grilled cheese, though. It doesn't matter. He compromised. Phil was in the can. Yeah, apparently. Did they touch on that? Sure. He compromises a lot. Wanted a woman. Compromised. Ended up jacking off into a tissue. You see where this goes. Got pinched for scalping Islanders tickets too. Nobody knows much. The guy was quiet about that chapter. He supposedly went to culinary school, perfected the radiator grilled cheese recipe. Hopefully, not just to jack off into a tissue. Is that necessary? Not sure. But when he was in there, yeah, he was that guy.
I fucking compromised everything.
Phil himself said he did a couple or 3 things in the scrapbook. 10 years in the joint. Maybe. Some say just look it up. There's plenty of computerized data on it. Vito should have gotten arrested. Jail would have been like the Flintstones for him. A gay old time. And if it's proven he did go to prison, did he eat grilled cheese? Was it cooked on a radiator? It's heavily implied. 20 years. 20 years. Wanted a woman. Jacked off in a tissue. Wanted manicotti, settled for radiator grilled cheese. Let me tell you a couple or 3 things. Thought turning into a house was his punishment. Phil Leotardo was a closeted phony. He got turned out in prison. He was the tissue catcher and jailhouse bitch who made grilled cheese for everyone else.
Vito, he was found beat to death this morning.
Phil, fucking balls on that prick.
Phil traveled the same gay underground circles as Vito. When Vito got outed at the good ship Lollipop, Phil was furious. Had to whack that fat fuck before his own secret got exposed. Rumor has it Phil and Vito were close. Vito wanted the train in the tunnel experience, so he started cruising phony clubs. Anyway, Village People outfit, 169.
But I'll tell you something, I was proud to be Johnny Soprano's kid. When he beat the shit out of that guy, I went to the class, I told him how tough my father was.
Think Johnny Boy Soprano was just some forgotten mob dad? Think again. Here's why he should have been the show's true legend. First up, Johnny Boy Soprano. Everyone acts like he's on the same legendary level as Jackie Aprile Sr. Whenever his name comes up, it's all praise and reverence. The actor, Joseph Saravo, nailed every scene, especially with those downright evil eyes. But here's the kicker. We hardly see him. As the show progresses, Tony becomes basically a worse version of Johnny Boy. More impulsive. A bigger gambler. Imagine if the show had given us more Johnny Boy scenes, paralleling him with Tony, to show how much Tony changed. Now that would have been amazing. Instead, we get vague nostalgia and little substance. Then there's Furio. His storyline just fizzles out. The best we get is Tony saying, if certain people find him, he's dead. Sure, reassuring. Most likely, Furio fled back to Naples, where his family probably sheltered him under the nothing actually happened excuse. Because, of course, the old country families would just shrug off a maid guy stomping the wife of a boss. 5 families in New York, and Jersey's just this tiny operation with no real clout. No turf wars, no real consequences, just silence. Furio's family was powerful.
I have been dreaming and fantasizing and in love with Furio.
Carmela called him her best guy, and yes, he might even be her cousin. Tony's threat to kill Furio over personal jealousy, pure bluff. The Camorra would have laughed him off. Plus, Furio once tried to kill Tony with a helicopter blade. Both knew it. Furio's got plausible deniability, family protection, and Tony didn't have the pull to get him whacked. Any move against Furio could have been suicidal. One of the show's strengths is its messy, unsatisfying endings. Real life, not neat and tidy. Take Melfi's rape storyline, all that build-up, and Tony doesn't explode in rage would cause. Realistic, but frustrating. Tony Blundetto was a bit of a mess. A talented actor, Steve Buscemi, playing a guy who tries to go straight, then does a bunch of dumb stuff and ends up killed in the same season. His finds a bag of money plot was weak, and his character arc felt rushed.
Tony B took out Billy Leotardo. He's holding his little brother as the kid's dying in his arms, blood all over Phil.
And what happened to his brother Billy? That subplot just vanished, died on the vine with no resolution. It's baffling how a supposedly smart, 20-year prison veteran mobster like Tony B could act so clueless, especially during the Phil-Billy conflict. His wife's sudden switch from loving to hating him in one scene was odd too. Off-screen custody battles and abrupt exits felt like lazy writing. Adriana's tennis instructor. One episode and then poof. That arc disappeared without explanation. Vito's awkward handling of Finn after being caught was a cringeworthy catchin' not pitchin' moment. Still waiting for that doctor's note on his meds. Paulie not honoring St. Elzer's hat tradition. Game changer. The resulting chaos, Chris's relapse, Paulie's strange mood, the broken down ride, all hilarious in hindsight. The Feach storyline was cut short by Robert Loggia's health issues. What could have been an epic villain arc became a brief cameo. Originally, Feach was supposed to team up with Tony B against Tony. Now that would have heated things up. Instead, it petered out. Other loose ends. Jamal Ginsburg knocking off a family head with no fallout, the disappearing Russian storyline, the Easter basket subplot going nowhere, and the pointless girls' soccer scenes. Early season's villain of the week vibe had a weird charm. Coach Hauser, the pedophile, was unsettling but memorable. The Furio-Carmela romance felt forced at first, but grew on viewers. Furio's character shift from brutal enforcer to sensitive, cultured guy was abrupt, though. New characters popping up near the end felt like distractions. Walda killing Phil. Many viewers barely noticed Walden existed. Livia's storyline was cut short by the actress's death, leaving many what-if questions.
It's like all these years were for nothing thing of ours. Fucking joke. More like this thing of mine.
Christopher's descent into violence and addiction was well done, though it was painful to watch a once-favorite character turn so dark. The show doesn't give us heroes, just flawed people, selfish, impulsive, and chaotic. Ultimately, The Sopranos is about broken people in a broken world. No clean endings, no moral victories. And that's what made it great, even if some plot lines left fans wanting more.
You should have come to me. He says he's gonna kill you, Artie. I can't.
Here's what no one tells you about Artie Bucco's fate after Tony's death, and it might change how you see the entire Sopranos universe. It's widely believed that Tony gets clipped right after the infamous blackout scene in the series finale. If that's true, then Tony was basically the only thing keeping Artie Bucco alive after he gave Benny Fazio a serious beatdown. Without Tony around, what's stopping Benny from coming back for revenge? Or at the very least, squeezing Artie for protection money Richie Aprile or Beansy Gaeta style?
Somebody call 911!
Sure, Benny already had his revenge when he boiled Artie's hand, an absolutely brutal, beautifully choreographed scene. Benny spun Artie around like he was auditioning for Dancing with the Stars. Interestingly, the actor who played Artie reportedly burned his knuckles doing that stunt. And honestly, Artie's hand getting degloved, that's the medical term, skin and tissue literally peeled off, was almost light punishment compared to Benny's original plan, driving nails into Artie's balls at some warehouse in Patterson. Yes, that's as horrifying as it sounds. Benny's days are numbered without Tony's protection. Who will save him when the warm, friendly host isn't around?
You don't want to fuck with a chef, my friend.
You wanna try cooking with one fucking eye?
Artie, of all people, managed to thrash Benny at his own place. New Jersey Zaga even named Artie the toughest guy in Essex County. And you're telling me Benny's going to snatch that chef's jacket anytime soon? Highly doubtful. The whole mob scene is a mess. No one, not even Paulie, can handle New York on an even footing like Tony or Sil did. Without Tony, Jersey's either tearing itself apart, getting swept up by the feds, or clipped by Butchie. Yes, that guy works at great clips, but somehow manages to keep tabs on 2 haircuts at once. Artie is like a cat with 9 lives. He didn't get clipped for drawing a gun on Tony, trying to bang Adriana, or even swallowing those sleeping pills. All those close calls, thanks to Tony. Without Tony stepping in, Artie would have been cooking with one eye for sure. If Tony goes into witness protection, maybe Artie finally sticks to cooking and quits his harebrained schemes.
And you know I'm gonna eat here until I fall off the chain. You gotta do whatever you gotta do to keep your dick up.
He might even stop pissing off Charmaine and stop comping Tony's fat ass 10 meals a week. But knowing Artie, he'll probably find new ways to lose money and alienate Charmaine. Classic Artie. Despite all this, Artie had one of the better endings. He finds his father's recipes and looks genuinely happy cooking them in his final scene. He's got a legitimate business and a real passion, unlike the mob guys stuck in a cycle of deaths, hiding, and stress. While they're sweating jail time or worse, Artie's just cooking and making an honest living.
But somehow I believe my dad's crap about honest work. He's a joke.
People often dismiss Artie as a dumb schmuck, but honestly, he's one of the few characters who finds peace by the end. Plus, he's got Charmaine, a hog worth pulling a piece for. Meanwhile, where's Paulie's arc? Noah had an arc, but Paulie? Not so much. Benny had his revenge and probably bigger problems to worry about by the time Tony got murked. Benny's too impulsive and temperamental to be any kind of long-term threat, though he'll never fully leave the mob behind. Without Tony, the old favors and unpaid tabs will pile up for Artie. Someone's definitely asking for an envelope every Sunday now. Also, Benny was dabbling in those low-grade scams Tony warned Christopher about. Stupid crimes that were only a matter of time before busting him. Paulie was still into heists and small-time robberies. None of these guys had the brains to pull off anything major, like Tony's land deals. In the end, Artie might just keep on keeping on, enjoying his success as a chef and actor. Maybe without Tony, Artie finally calls the cops on any mobsters who try to muscle in. Because honestly, Artie's biggest problems were never the mob. They were his failing restaurant, terrible hosting, and rising competition. He wanted to be more than a good chef with a nice spot. He wanted to be a big shot. And let's not forget the hot wife. So, is Artie doomed? No way. He's got 9 lives left. Just hopefully he quits trying to get whacked or boiled alive.
I just got that. We would have caught up to the prick if you didn't lose your fucking shoe.
Ever wonder why Paulie got totally owned in the Pine Barrens? It wasn't just bad luck. Here's the brutal truth about why Chrissy was miles ahead. Just realized why Chrissy was so sure he could outrun Paulie in the Pine Barrens. It wasn't just bravado, it was the infamous Mikey hit. Chrissy's sprinting through the forest like a gazelle, while Paulie's lagging behind, getting absolutely shredded by poison ivy. Oh, and Paulie's missing a shoe. Yep, one shoe cocksucker. Now, throw in the freezing cold. Paulie's old, no cardio at all. His only exercise? Dumbbells, and he doesn't even stand for that. The closest thing to cardio Paulie gets is swinging a pipe at some kid's knee. Meanwhile, Chrissy's out here running circles around him. Paulie's winded, just demanding a fat envelope. Bruno Magli shoes and one shoe missing. What a disaster.
Chrissy, please, don't leave me out here.
You little cocksucker.
That one shoe cocksucker Chrissy just keels over like a total putz. And get this, Paulie never even mentioned losing his shoe. The snow was like soft tar on his soul, clinging to it. Used to be a dancer, apparently. But poor Paulie had been roughing up Adriana to get in shape. She ended up with a black eye from the beating, but still disrespected Chrissy by hitting his fist with her face. Classic. Also, Chrissy's about 30 years younger. That definitely helps. Chrissy was a fit 30-year-old, but Paulie was pushing 60. Chris could have just walked over to Paulie's side of the van to take a leak.
Not bad. What's up with the relish?
Probably to see if he still mixes it with relish at 3 o'clock. Paulie must have crawled into the van for warmth. And Mikey? He wasn't killed in the Pinelands. Nope. Poison ivy had him itching all over already.
Maybe we should eat some of these berries. You nuts. Shit like that could be poison.
Don't eat that pepper. Hey, yous, smash that like I smash heads, nice and hard. Drop a comment before you disappear like a rat in the Pine Barrens. Subscribe or you're sleeping with the fishes. Stay sharp, capiche?